4. How would things be different if Sam's mom was still alive?
I said if she was alive, I think it will be help for like Sam to take care of Max, and then his dad Mitch wouldn't like to beat him, like punish him like for his life for having Max, because like he was upset, like he stopped talking with Sam after his mom died, so like Mitch might be nicer than right now to him, and then Sam might go to college and then have like a job, like to help his dad to pay the money, like, and then so like his mom will help, like, to take care of Max.
I also agree with Lucy, because if Sam's mom would be alive, she would help Sam with. If Sam's mom would be alive, she would help a lot with Max, and the relationship father and son that Sam has with Mitch will be better, because I feel like Mitch is treating Sam that way because he feels depressed because of what happened to his wife, and that's why it's not that he doesn't love Sam, but it's just like he's treating him. He doesn't know how to treat him. He doesn't know how to treat Sam.
I think Sam's mom would have helped make a lot of decisions with Max, you know, whether to put him up for adoption and that kind of stuff, or have, you know, get some money out of her maybe and have some help supporting Max. And I think that she would have taken care of Max if Sam wanted to go off and, you know, do the SATs and go to college. I think she would have helped a lot.
I think if Sam's mom was still alive, he would have different perspectives on like the choices that he made, and maybe if he like, since his like mom gave like insight to him, he would have dealt with his mistake differently.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. A good quote that kind of sums up the answer to this question is on page 142, and it's kind of the end of the discussion that we had in the last question about the SAT regarding what would Teresa want, and he responds with this quote: "If Teresa were here, we wouldn't be in this mess in the first place." And I don't think he's talking about the SAT or Max. I think he's talking about like everything right from the cancer. Basically, like if she was still alive and she didn't have cancer, like Mitch would be a lot more happier dad. Like Sam would be a normal kid. He would have probably just gone with Andy, like normal kid life, and then he wouldn't have had to deal with Max at all. And that's what I interpreted. But I think what we're trying to figure out is whether or not having Teresa in his life during all these difficult times, whether or not they would have affected anything. And I don't think, maybe it would have changed a little bit. Like maybe if Teresa was there when Brittany and Sam came home to Sam's house, that we wouldn't have had Max, or if they did have the kid, then like Teresa could have convinced Brittany to keep it or something like that. But it all depends. We'll never know, obviously, but it's just interesting to think about.
I agree with you. I really take Mitch's viewpoint on this. Like you said, I think if Teresa were still alive, like the whole thing wouldn't have happened, because having two parents, it's easier to see your kids developing bad habits. And I think part of the reason that Sam really got into this situation with Brittany is that he kind of started, you know, going and drinking at Andy's house. And he was at a party when they reunited. Like we're not entirely sure, like was it like a full-on crazy like frat party style thing, or was it just a few beers?
Yeah.
Well, no, but she was holding a root beer. That doesn't mean that the kid next to her wasn't holding it. But so I think if Sam's mom were still alive, she might have noticed like, hey, his friends are drinking beer and they're 16. This is going to be an issue. And I think she might have kind of stomped down that kind of behavior a little sooner, because she might have noticed it, whereas Mitch didn't. And Mitch not noticing it meant that Sam's like kind of bad teenage behavior wasn't really stomped out. His friends like still were drinking, and he was too. Like it says he didn't want to drink the beer because he had kids. That kind of implies that he's had a few in the past. So I think having his mom there would have kind of stomped that out.
Yeah,
kind of right away.
I think that I had the same quote as you actually. If Teresa were here, we wouldn't be in this mess, and 142. And I think that Mitch kind of could have, been a better father if he still had Teresa around. Because I think that, though it sounds really sad, like I think that Mitch kind of died with Teresa. Like in the flashback not episodes. Oh my God, this isn't TV. This is a book. In the flashback chapters, it's very clear that like Mitch makes an effort to try to be close to Sam, and he makes an effort to try to be a good father. But in the normal like day-to-day ones, I guess, like the modern timeline, it's not like that, and that Mitch is cold and hardened and not the same person.
And like if Teresa was there, like she'd be more of like a guide for Sam and like advice, like, cause like she raised Sam and like she kind of knows how to like raise a kid, and like if she had been there to like help him, maybe the girls at the alternative school, cause didn't they say something like they just like questioned his parenting, and like had they not like, or maybe if his mom was there, she would have told him that, and like they wouldn't have had to say that because he would have been doing it like right, but.
And I feel like she
with that,
was very loving. Like it shows in the pancake making kind of scene. Like she cared so much about, like Sam and about Mitch. And she, even when she was sick, like she was trying her best to be a mother.
Yeah.
And
Like Adam.
Yeah. So I put on page 20 when they were talking about how he was sitting around watching TV and like Andy called at the beginning of the book. I feel like if his mom didn't die, like maybe he wouldn't been just hanging around, because I know like myself, like if my like parents or like brother are home and I'm just like laying around, like they encourage me to like go out or do something, not like go to a party. And I feel like if his mom was there, maybe like he wouldn't have gone to the party, like he would have been busy with something else, and then this whole thing wouldn't have happened. And also like if his mom was there, like his relationship with his dad, like it was strong as you like kind of went on in the book and like saw like the chapter with him like going fishing, but didn't seem like he was that close with Sam, and like maybe Teresa would have like given the birds and the bees talk and like made him aware of his like what his actions could result in,
If you
and
could
been more aware.
If you could describe Teresa in a couple words, like what would you guys describe her as?
I would kind of describe her as a sign of positivity in Sam's life, because from what we know about her, she just seemed like a really caring mom, and she was kind of someone that like Sam could just go to like he needed someone to talk to, I guess.
And going back to what I'm trying to like bring that. This is gonna be quick. Going back to what you kind of mentioned about like Teresa's like parenting and teaching like parenting to Sam. We see that Mitch is good with kids because like he's got Max like laughing at several points in the book, but like he doesn't kind of teach Sam how to make Max happy again, how to stop him from crying. And I feel like if Teresa was still around, she would have taught Sam that kind of thing, how to like cheer Max up, how to stop him from crying.
What do you think?
Okay. I was gonna say that I don't think that if Teresa were there, like Sam wouldn't have had Max. Like I don't think she would have been able to change that, because yeah, maybe she would have been home when they got back from the party, but it talked about like they had sex like other times and it wasn't at his house. So like just because his mom was there and it didn't happen that one time, like doesn't mean that it never would have happened and that Max never would have been born. And like if you think about it, like there are lots of kids at the alternative high school whose moms probably still are alive and still ended up having kids. So like your moms and like your parents can be supportive, but they can't, like she's not gonna make his decisions for him and not completely change like what he decides to do. But I do think it would have changed like his relationship with his dad, and like it could have like relieved some tension like as he was raising Max and making like those decisions like after the fact that it happened.
I agree with Magdalena, because I mean look at our high school, there's tons of examples of kids who have good families, two parents, and they still have sex and they still drink alcohol. And so even though, yeah, Teresa we know her as kind of a loving character, I still think Sam would have gone to that same party, and even if he didn't have sex that night because his mom would have been home, he would have had sex other times, and eventually they still probably would have had Max. So I don't think the question really is whether or not Sam would have had Max, it's how his parents would have helped take care of Max after that.
Later in the book, after they have sex for the first time, when we see Sam and Claire going over to the party with, or not the party, the dinner with Andy and Jenny, and they're talking about the relationship between Melissa and Dan, and Sam, I don't know what page it's on, he kind of asks himself, like, did they have like better condoms or something like that? And so it kind of, to me, it implied that, you know, Sam had tried, like, they tried to prevent stuff, but something had happened, I don't know, holes, rips, I don't know what would have happened to them, but it made it sound like Sam had at least tried to be safe and be smart about it, and maybe just didn't luck out.
And I agree with like what you said. If his mom had been there, like it could have been more like Claire's family, where like, I don't know, his mom would have probably been more sensitive to it, and like Mitch wouldn't have been like the only parent just like disappointed in, and like his mom could have been like, you know, like it's okay, like it's a mistake, but like how can we like work with it?
I think if Sam's mom was there, I think the stress load would be a lot less, because she'd be taking on, not the majority, but taking more of Max's, taking more of Sam's responsibilities on, and Sam could like help out with Max, but not do 100% of the work.
I agree with Magdalena. Like, Teresa's mom should, like, she can't do anything but him, like, doing stuff. But, like, I also agree with the part that she couldn't, like, help with Max. But, like, he went to the party and his mom, like, you don't tell your mom, hey, mom, go to the party, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna drink. Like, you don't do that. Like, he will have lied to her and, like, went to the party still. And like his mom, she could have done different things in his life, like helping him and his father